Hey y'all, today is Tommy Kelly. Obviously, it's Matt Rogers on the Honorable Mention podcast. Tommy Kelly from SportsRadio WIP out in Philadelphia, the flagship station of the Philadelphia Eagles. Listen in pretty much around the clock. Tommy will be filling in and talking birds. You'll recognize his voice. I mean, off air, Tom, we were just talking about, how this is such a weird season, and the excitement feels it's less so like the 2017, in my opinion, if I'm going to put it into words, it felt more like a magic carpet ride that we kind of weirdly felt was going to end in the right place. This year, it's like, let's just get the damn championship. That's how I think a lot of Eagles fans are feeling.
Yeah, I think that's right, Matt. It's been a weird season. Like, and just talking to some people at work, talking to friends and stuff. It's weird because it's been an awesome season. Like, don't get me wrong, it's been a fun season to watch. It's been enjoyable every week, but it doesn't seem like there are a bunch of memorable games, like a bunch of memorable moments. And I think a lot of that speaks to just how good this team is. I mean, they've been dominant start to finish. They haven't played a ton of close games, but the most memorable game they played this year was probably the game in Dallas that they lost, Christmas Eve, in terms of most memorable games, I guess. I mean, the Indy game, obviously they get the comeback late, but yeah, it's just been one of those weird seasons, but I think it really speaks to how dominant this team is. The fact that they've taken care of business and handled teams so easily throughout the course of the year.
If it's just because the Eagles have, pretty much made mincemeat of a lot of people in terms of the scores. Gannon hasn't done it more recently, but the scores started evaporating to a lower, so at the end of the game, the Packers beat down. It was a beatdown they got put on them. I think it was 40-33. The game wasn't that close. And so in retrospect, if you would have told me that the Eagles would have, taken down last year's, I think, number one seed and ran 300 on them, or the beating they put on the Titans, I think, to your point, I mean, this just speaks to how good the Eagles have been this season. And it's just, in my opinion, it's just time to, Jalen always says the money's on the table, and let's pick it up. Just time. It's time.
Yeah, and you make a good point with that Packers game. That game's kind of a blur to me because my wife was literally delivering our second baby during that game.
Oh, congrats.
So, yeah, thanks. So that was it was kind of a blur. We got all that going on.
Oh,
I'm
man.
still trying to sneak glances up at the TV and watch the game at the same time. So that was kind of a crazy night. I don't have the best recollection of that game.
The Titans was too, but the Titans, they actually did keep the score down in that one.
Yeah. The Titans game was just one of those dominant performances. And that was, the really started that stretch where they dominated the Titans, dominated the Giants, and then the Bears game. But yeah, I mean, it's been one of those things. This team's just so talented. And, I just think, as we head into this game, I think that's why people are so confident. It struck me how confident people are in the Eagles winning this game. And I think everybody respects the Chiefs, but I think it's just more a matter of everybody so confident in this team, and they've really given you no reason to doubt them the way that they played this year.
I think they played 20 games, right? They've
19.
They've won 19 games. They played 19 games, and I mean, they put a lot on film for people. Most of the time, you're watching the Eagles, it's a lot of flying, as some people might say.
No doubt about it. I mean, especially, the offensive and defensive line. I mean, they're dominant. When you have, good units on those at those positions, I mean, you're hard to beat. If you're dominating up front, it's really hard for other teams to beat you.
No kidding. So, and perfect segue to what I wanted to ask you about. I mean, I expect to see the Chiefs come out in a lot of 12 and 13 personnel, heavy box. Do you think they're going to be able to sustain that as their offense?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting when you look at the Chiefs offense, because honestly, this is a different Chiefs offense than it's been in the past couple of years. Patrick Mahomes has been more patient this year. He's had to be because, it's kind of the give and take. They moved on from Tyreek Hill. I think pragmatically that was a smart decision. You don't want to pay a wide receiver that kind of money, but they've had to change their offense a little bit. They're a lot different. They rely a lot on yards after the catch. They lead the league in guys getting yards after the catch. So they're more of a short passing game approach, more of a traditional West Coast offense approach this year. And Patrick Mahomes, I think, is actually really developed as a quarterback. Like the big plays might not be there as much, but he's making really smart decisions and getting the ball where it needs to go. And I think, when you look at the Eagles this week, I don't worry about them really giving up the big play. The Chiefs' outside wide receivers honestly aren't really that good.
No.
To me, it's you gotta obviously worry about Kelsey. He's the main guy who's going to concern you on their offense, and then the backs out of the backfield. I mean, Pacheco, the rookie, I really like. I think he's really talented.
Absolutely, out of Jersey.
Yeah, Jerick McKinnon has
been Benlin, right?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where he's from, but he's definitely from this area. And then McKinnon, he's a really talented back out of the backfield as well. So I think it's going to be really important for the Eagles linebackers and their defensive backs to keep track on those guys. And when they do catch it, they got to tackle, because that's where the Chiefs are going to make their money in this game, is breaking tackles and yards after the catch.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think not having a Tyreek Hill, gets exposed in these kind of shootout games is what I expect. But we'll get more to that later. But the money odds it's about even. You don't really get an edge picking the Eagles or the Chiefs to score first. Who would you take if you had to, if they were like, I'm going to give you $100, but you got to bet it on this?
Well, who knows? Obviously, we could see how the game plays out, and I could be completely wrong. But the way I see this game playing out, I like the Eagles early. Like, if you're looking for something to bet, I love the Eagles first half. I don't know what the spread is. I'd imagine it's kind of close to what the spread would be for the full game. Eagles 1.5-point favorites for the whole game. But I think this is a situation where the Eagles jump on top early. Like, I fully expect that. I expect the Eagles to have a 10 to 14 point lead at halftime. I think it's going to be one of these cases that can they hold on to it, because Mahomes, you can never count him out. You can never look at him as being out of a game. But as far as early on in this game, I trust Jalen to play well. I trust the Eagles offense, and I think they're going to get out to a lead early. I think it's just going to be a matter of, can they hang on?
That's that you got a lot of people listening. You got their attention with that. So to do that, the Eagles they're going to have to most likely get the ball, unless they're really stifling the Chiefs offense. Where are you on this? There's a lot of it when you turn on WIP. You got a lot of people calling, and I'm sure you get a lot of callers who are like, don't defer anymore. Do you really not care, or do you think it's important that the Eagles, get the ball first?
Well, honestly, I think it's the most exhausting debate that we have.
It is. It really is.
It's just like the idea that whoever wins the coin toss, whoever gets the ball first, is going to win the game. I just think is just silly. And I'm one of these people who I think it's smart in pretty much every case to defer. Like I would say it would be I would very rarely take the ball. I understand kind of the logic in certain situations, but like, it worked out for the Eagles the past couple of weeks, and it wasn't in their hands. I mean, the other team won the toss and they deferred, but I didn't understand like the logic of people saying the Eagles should take the ball first. If you're at home, you don't want the ball first. Like, the crowd is all riled up at the beginning of the game. You want to put the opposing team on the field.
Yep.
And you want the ball coming out of halftime when, people are still coming back from the bathroom and coming back from the concessions, and, it's a little quieter, but typically I like the ball to start the second half. If the Eagles win the toss, I think they should defer. I think they probably will defer. And typically, and I guess there are certain situations where maybe the mind changes, but typically that's where I would go 95% of the time, is I defer and take the ball in the second half.
Unless the other team's defense is a rollover, and I just know that I'm going to punch it in. I can't take 3 in that situation, because when I've coached in the past, I would always try to like work it out, take my timeouts before the 2-minute warning, so that I would get the ball back with about 2 minutes left, try to get some points before the half, knowing that I would get the ball again. And you can create so much separation in a game that otherwise is a tug of war.
Well, that's what teams always talk about, and that's something that Sirianni has talked about a lot, and it's something that Doug talked about a lot when he was here. Is they look at it as like the middle eight, the last 4 minutes of the first half, and the first 4 minutes of the second half, and that's kind of the goal. Is you always want the ball to end the first half. Hopefully, you get points there. Hopefully, you get points coming out of the second half, and I mean that can be a 10, 14 point swing if things are handled correctly. And I mean, you look at last week's game against the 49ers. Now, the Eagles didn't have the ball to start the second half in that game, but I mean, the game really ended at the end of the first half. Eagles score a touchdown. They get the fumble from Josh Johnson, and then they put it in again to go up 21-7. That's typically what teams are aiming for, and I think that's really the benefit to getting the ball to start the second half. I mean, it doesn't always work out. Sometimes you do get it first, and you have success, but typically – I think that's the right way to go about it is to try to get the ball to start the second half.
And in a neutral site, I guess some of that logic may be a little different, but I still on the whole, I'm still taking it, way more often. I'm deferring if I win.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the right call, and it's what most teams do. I mean, people act like what the Eagles do is this, unique, strictly analytical approach. It's really not that unconventional. Like it's what most teams do. And, I think it's what most of the smart teams do. So typically that's the decision I would make. And if the Eagles win the toss, I can pretty much guarantee they're going to defer.
I agree. And I appreciate how exhausting it is. I mean, it does. And people are so convinced, like, no, if you get the ball first, you score and you win. It's like,
there's no guarantee that you're going to score. I mean, what if you get the ball and you go 3 and out? That's
or
a
you
very
throw a
real
pick-6.
possibility, right? I mean, and even last week, I mean, it worked to the Eagles' favor. But if Kyle Shanahan challenges that 4th and 3, then I mean, the Eagles get nothing out of their first drive. They turn the ball over at midfield. Yeah. And obviously the game really took a turn after that. But yeah, I mean, I think the idea that like it's a guarantee you're going to go down and get points is not reality.
Philly Sports Talk Radio is it's great stuff, y'all. But check it out, especially WIP. So Gainwell's balling out. Oh, go ahead. What are you going to say about Philly?
Oh, no. All I was going to say is, yeah, I mean, it's crazy sometimes, but it's certainly fun to have these conversations.
Yeah. Kenny Gainwell is balling out right now. I mean, if he gives us another 100-yard performance, a couple explosive plays, do you think that this is turning the Eagles' minds that we're kind of moving past Miles Sanders?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this on the front end. Like, Miles Sanders has really impressed me this year. I think it's been by far the best season of his career. The issue I always had with him in the past was, he was always trying to break the big play, would not take the holes that are given to him. And when you have an offensive line like the Eagles have, you don't need to do all that. I mean, just take what's there. If you do that enough, the big plays will come. And Miles Sanders has done a much better job of that this year. That being said, I just don't believe in investing big resources into running backs. Whether it's high draft picks, I would never use a first-round pick on a running back. I would never give a running back a big contract. I mean, look at what that's partially done to the Cowboys. I mean, Zeke Elliott
absolutely
was great for a couple of years. They gave him that contract, and he's not the best running back on that team. He hasn't been for a few years now. Like, Tony Pollard is better. So you look at it, I like Miles Sanders, but I think you can replace that position. And especially when you have an offensive line this good, you can come back with Gainwell and Boston Scott, and maybe you do draft a running back in the 2nd, 3rd round this year that you like. I think that's the right way to go about it. And it's not even a negative to Miles Sanders, but the Eagles are going to have a lot of, big decisions to make here moving forward with the salary cap. Hargrave's a free agent, Gardner Johnson, Bradbury, all these guys. You need to prioritize these other positions. So yeah, I don't even think it's necessarily what Gainwell has done recently that's changed my mind, but certainly it emboldens you even more to think you don't need to keep Miles Sanders around.
I'm certain. I mean, Howie's got to do what Howie's got to do. Just let the man work, and I expect him to do exactly what you're saying. Unfortunately, it's been great. Miles Sanders having the best season of his career. Ran into both end zones in the NFC Championship untouched. Was fantastic. Blue kisses to the folks at the link. If this is the end for Miles Sanders and somebody sends this to him, it's been great. Like I said, that catch that he caught from Carson Wentz in Landover, Maryland, the one that almost impaled him, that was impressive. Great moment. That's a great Eagles moment.
Yeah, no, I mean, as much as we don't like Wentz now, that was, I mean, one of the best plays of Wentz's career. That was a tremendous throw. Yeah.
Still one of the best throws that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy at the time. I mean, the way he got that one in there.
That one, and then the one from Foles to Clement in Super Bowl 52 in the back of the end zone. That one was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable throw as well. Foles was just in some kind of zone that day, man. It's unbelievable to think back.
I mean, and he said that he wants to. Did you catch the news? He said he wants to try to retire as an Eagle once it's done, probably after next year.
That makes sense. I mean, I think Nick Foles, like, let's face it, he didn't have a really storied or successful career in his other stops. He's been a lot of places. So, yeah, I mean, he'll always be a hero here. And, yeah, I that would make a lot of sense for him to come back and retire an Eagle.
And people don't, the casual football fan, obsessive Eagles fans, like a couple people that we may know, is, he had that 27-2 season as well as the Super Bowl champion year. That was so far back with Chip Kelly and all that. That was be great. But so the Vegas odds for this year's Super Bowl MVP are about even between Mahomes and Hurts. Which one are you taking on that side? And that kind of tells us who you think is going to win. So let's just get into that.
Well, yeah, I think MVP is interesting. And I don't think, like, obviously, if you're looking to win, typically a quarterback is going to win the MVP award. And I don't always think that should be the case. Like last year, I forget who did win it, whether it was Cooper Kupp or Stafford. But, like, I think Aaron Donald should have won the MVP.
I think they gave it to Stafford.
Okay, yeah. Like, Aaron Donald, I thought, should have won the MVP of that game. But if I'm betting MVP, like, I'm looking for a value pick here. I mean, Hassan Reddick at plus 3,400 is, I mean, that's crazy. Like, with what he's done this year, the way he's played in the playoffs, I mean, if you're really looking to make big money off an MVP wager, that's one I'd take without having to put up a ton of money. So,
absolutely,
Hurts or Mahomes is probably where the smart bet would be. Certainly, you imagine if the Chiefs win, Mahomes is going to win it. It's hard to kind of imagine any sort of different scenario. I get maybe Kelsey would win it if he has a huge day. But yeah, I think if you're looking from an Eagles perspective, I do think there's a scenario where they just dominate up front, and Hassan Reddick, ends up being the guy to be the MVP.
You're not the first person that's raised the idea of Kelsey as MVP. I mean, what's the world? What the hell has to happen for Kelsey to win? What do they run for 400 yards on these guys? I mean,
well, I was actually referring to Travis Kelsey. I was talking about from the Chiefs side.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
no. I was talking about Travis Kelsey. I don't really. I love Jason Kelsey. I don't see any way he wins now. I won't say that. I don't think that's impossible because say the Eagles do just dominate on the offensive line and they're picking one guy as like a representative of that offensive line, maybe there's a scenario, but I think if we're looking at like the brother rivalry here, I think Travis has a much better chance than Jason does to win.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, but you could probably get, make a little bit of change if you place a few bucks down on Jason Kelsey for MVP.
Yeah.
I have a few nice pulling plays.
Yeah. If they were to choose him as like, kind of the representative of the offensive line, I could see that.
Be pretty cool. What's your score prediction, Tommy? I know it's still early and a lot of fields are yet to go down, but what do you got?
Well, I mean, I'm going to give out my pick officially later this week on WIP, but I'll tell you where I'm leaning very strongly right I'm leaning very
Okay.
strongly. You know, I think the Eagles have a really good chance to win this game. I'll put it that way. And,
Okay.
you know, I think when you look at it, as I said, the way I kind of see this game going as of now is, you know, I think they jump on top. I think they have a lead at halftime. And I think Patrick Mahomes is going to, you know, find his way back into it. Like, I certainly think that, you know, the Chiefs are going to mount some sort of a comeback. I think in the end, though,
Make us sweat it out.
yeah, it's going to come down to the offensive lines. And I'll say this, like, I trust Jalen Hurts. I trust Nick Sirianni. The way I'm leaning right now, because honestly, I'm not fully committed to a pick yet, which is part of the reason I can't give one here. But yeah, I mean, I think as of now, I am leaning toward the Eagles winning a close game and being Super Bowl champions. But, you know, it's going to be tough.
We'll have to listen on WIP.
Right. When
will it be?
Yeah, well, I'm on 10 to 2 Thursday night. I'm on 6 to 9 p.m. on Friday night, and then I'm in 8 to 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. So I've got a lot of shows here over the next couple days. But yeah, I think the Eagles right now. I would say the Eagles pull away late, win this game by like 7 to 10 points is kind of what I'm leaning at this point.
At the moment, but you gotta have to.
Yeah,
really
I gotta dig a little deeper. People got to check it out. That's what I'm thinking as of now. But I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't scared of Patrick Mahomes, and you know that's the reason.
You'd be crazy too.
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm having trouble committing to a pick fully at this point yet. Because I mean, Patrick Mahomes is great, and you know if the Chiefs are having success and they let him get into a rhythm, that could be problematic. So I think the Eagles really need to do a good job of getting pressure. They need to be smart. They need to tackle, because this is not a Chiefs offense is going to be deep down the field. The Eagles are going to get in trouble if they're not fundamentally sound and not tackling. I mean, that's going to be a big key. And, you know, I think that's really going to be where this game is won.
Gannon's the new Jim Johnson if he goes and beats Patrick Mahomes. The excuses would have to stop. All of the the but stuff. If you beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, unless Mahomes throws for like 600 yards like Tom Brady did on us.
Yeah, and like I think Gannon's a good defensive coordinator. I think he's done a really good job this year. So you know, I would not really be worried about his game plan. I think he's going to come up with a good game plan. But the thing about a guy like Patrick Mahomes is you can have a great game plan and it might not matter. So the Eagles are going to need to really be smart on the field in this game.
Well, Tommy, thank you so much for coming on. We'll see you again soon. Go Birds.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Appreciate it, man. Enjoy the game on Sunday.